Have you ever wondered why some women seem unforgettable, even in their silence? It's not because they shout the loudest, beg the hardest, or constantly remind someone of their worth. No. The truth is, the most unforgettable women, the ones who stay on his mind long after the messages stop, have mastered the quiet power of presence. You don't have to chase to be remembered. You don't have to speak to be valued. Sometimes it is in your silence that you speak the loudest, and today I'm going to show you how to stay on his mind without saying a single word, not by playing games, but by becoming a woman so aligned with her worth that she lingers in memory and soul. Confidence, it's one of those things you can't quite describe, but you know it when you see it. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room or constantly posting to prove you're living your best life. No, real confidence is subtle, it's quiet, it's the kind that whispers rather than shouts. A woman with quiet confidence doesn't need to draw attention to herself. Her energy does that for her. She walks into a room and something shifts. People notice, not because she demands it, but because she doesn't. There's a calmness about her, a groundedness. She's not in a hurry to impress anyone because she's already impressed with who she is becoming. You see, the thing about quiet confidence is that it's rooted in self-awareness. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you will no longer tolerate. It's built on the small promises you keep to yourself. The nights you choose rest over chasing someone who doesn't call. The mornings you get up and work on yourself even when no one is watching. It's in the decision to value your peace over meaningless validation. A confident woman doesn't perform. She doesn't try to be liked. She simply is asterisk, and in being fully herself, she draws people in effortlessly. Men, especially, remember women like that, not because she was perfect. Not because she fit into some box, but because she was unapologetically herself. She wasn't trying to compete or compare. She was content in her own lane, and that kind of woman, she doesn't fade into the background. She lingers in the mind, she haunts the memory, not as someone who tried to prove her worth, but as someone who knew it already. She didn't send 10 messages to remind someone to treat her right. She walked away when she saw she wasn't being seen. Not out of bitterness, not out of spite, but because she had boundaries, she had standards, and she had confidence that she would be okay on her own. There's also a stillness in confident women that's intoxicating. They don't flinch when there's silence. They're not in a rush to fill the gaps. They're not constantly looking for someone else to complete them, because they're already whole, and from that wholeness they operate. She could be sitting quietly in a corner, sipping her tea, reading her book, and someone will wonder, who is she? What's her story? It's the way she carries herself. It's the way she doesn't need the room to validate her presence. Because she already knows she belongs, confidence like that isn't built overnight. It's forged in the fire of self-discovery. It's grown in seasons of silence. It's born from the moments you choose yourself even when it would be easier to shrink. And the thing is, people feel that. They sense it. They may not say it, but they remember it. Because while beauty may catch the eye, confidence captures the soul. People will forget what you wore. They'll forget the caption under your photo, or even how you styled your hair that day. But what they won't forget, what stays long after you've walked away, is how you made them feel. Emotional impact is deeper than attraction, deeper than attention. It's the kind of thing that lingers quietly in someone's mind, rising up in random moments. A laugh that echoes, a conversation that made him feel understood, a shared silence that felt safe. And the truth is, a woman who knows how to leave emotional imprints doesn't have to say much. She becomes memorable through her energy, her presence, and the way she shows up. Fully, sincerely, without forcing anything. There's a softness in the way she listens, not just hearing words, but understanding meaning. She leans in with her heart, not just her ears, and when she speaks, she doesn't compete for space. Her words land differently because they're not performative, they're intentional. She's not rushing to respond or trying to outshine. She's simply present, and presence is powerful. It doesn't ask to be noticed. It just is. You might not even realize it at first, but long after the moment has passed, something about her stays with you. The way she looked at you when you spoke like she really saw you, the way she smiled when she didn't have to, the way she made you feel heard when the world is so loud with noise, she's not about trying to impress. She's about creating connection, and that's what sets her apart. She's not trying to be unforgettable. She just is, because her energy touches people beyond surface level. You'll meet 100 people in a week. Talk to dozens, but only a few will stir something in you. Only a few will make you pause and reflect, and she's one of them, not because she gave the best performance, but because she offered a feeling. Something real, something grounding. And here's what most people don't realize. Emotional impact doesn't require constant communication. It can happen in a moment and yet echo for weeks. She could say one thing that shifts your entire perspective, or sit with you in silence and make you feel more seen than 1,000 words ever could. That's the power she holds, not in trying to force a memory, but in asterisk being asterisk one. She's not easily replaced because what she brings isn't common. It's not loud. It's not curated. It's not based on trends. It's real. You can scroll past hundreds of pictures, but you can't scroll past a feeling that touched your soul. That's the kind of woman who stays on your mind, not because she chased attention, but because she left something with you, something you didn't even know you were missing, something you can't quite explain, but can't quite forget either. There is something magnetic about a woman who protects her energy. She's not guarded out of fear, she's selective out of wisdom. She's not closed off, she's just no longer available to everyone. And that's the difference. She's learned the hard way that constantly giving, explaining, and stretching herself thin doesn't earn love, it only drains her. And so now she moves differently, not bitter, not angry, just aware. She doesn't let just anyone into her space anymore because her peace has become too expensive to be disrupted by inconsistency, confusion, or chaos. You can feel it in her presence. There's a calm, almost sacred energy about her. It's not that she's quiet, it's that she's intentional. She chooses her words. She doesn't overshare. She doesn't force connection. She understands the power of silence, and she uses it wisely. When someone disrespects her boundaries, she doesn't scream or plead. She simply withdraws. She takes her energy back, and in that moment, she says more with her absence than she ever could with her voice. Because when a woman removes herself from a space that no longer serves her, the silence becomes a mirror. It reflects everything the other person didn't see when she was present. And let's be honest, there's a certain kind of strength required to protect your energy in a world that demands constant access, to not always reply, to not always explain, to let people sit with the discomfort of your silence instead of rushing to make them comfortable again. That kind of strength doesn't come from ego, it comes from experience, from the nights she cried after being misunderstood, from the times she gave chances that weren't deserved, from the moments she silenced her intuition to avoid conflict. But she's not that woman anymore. She's evolved, and now she honors her peace more than her desire to be chosen. It's in the way she doesn't react to everything. She knows not every situation deserves her energy. Not every insult requires a response. Not every message deserves a reply. She doesn't chase closure or clarity from people who benefit from her confusion. She creates distance. She chooses herself, and that choice becomes a statement, a loud one. Because silence isn't passive, it's powerful, especially when it comes from a woman who used to overextend, overexplain, and overlove. Her energy is no longer up for negotiation. She knows who she is now. She knows what she brings to the table, and because of that, she no longer begs to be seen, heard, or understood. If someone can't meet her where she is, she doesn't force it. She simply steps back gracefully, unapologetically. And in doing so, she leaves a mark that's hard to forget, Because when you've had access to a woman who protects her energy and you lose it, nothing feels the same again. There's a quiet allure in not being fully known. In a world where everyone is constantly sharing every detail of their lives, being a little mysterious is a superpower. It's not about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about knowing that you don't owe the world full access to your inner life. A woman who understands this doesn't lay all her cards on the table. She doesn't explain her every move. She doesn't feel the need to constantly announce what she's doing or how she feels. There's a depth to her that isn't immediately visible, and that's what keeps people curious. Mystery doesn't mean being distant or cold. It's about having layers. It's about showing enough to connect, but not so much that there's nothing left to discover. A woman who allows herself to remain partly unread creates a kind of intrigue that doesn't fade quickly. When someone walks away from her, they don't feel like they've figured her out. Instead, they replay conversations, revisit her words, wonder what she meant when she smiled that way. She doesn't hand out explanations like candy. She lets people sit with the unknown, and it's in that unknown that the mind begins to linger. Men especially are drawn to mystery, not because it's manipulative, but because it invites them to lean in. It gives space for their imagination to wander. When you're always available, always explaining, always revealing, there's no space left for curiosity. But when you hold a little bit back, not out of fear, but from confidence, you invite deeper interest. Not everyone deserves full access to your thoughts, your dreams, your vulnerabilities, and the woman who knows this doesn't move with desperation. She moves with intention. She understands that mystery is not about hiding, it's about preserving. Preserving the sacred parts of herself for the spaces that have earned her trust. She's the kind of woman who can be fully present in a moment and still leave you wondering. Her eyes tell stories she doesn't rush to speak. Her absence feels as significant as her presence because there's always a part of her that remains untouched, unspoken. It's not that she's trying to be difficult. She just knows that value doesn't always need to be advertised. She lets her energy speak. She lets her actions echo louder than any caption or declaration ever could. You don't need to know everything about her to feel connected to her. In fact, it's the parts you don't know that make her unforgettable. She doesn't flood your inbox. She doesn't overshare on calls. She knows that sometimes silence creates more impact than words, that leaving a little bit unsaid leaves space for reflection, and in that space she stays. Not as noise, but as a thought, a question, a memory, a feeling you can't quite place but also can't quite shake. There is something undeniably attractive about a woman who is deeply focused on her purpose. She doesn't wake up wondering who's thinking about her, who's texting her back, or who's validating her worth. Her mind is fixed on her goals. She's building, growing, evolving. And because she's so immersed in her own path, she becomes magnetic without even trying. She's not sitting around waiting for life to happen to her. She's out there making it happen. And that kind of energy, that kind of direction, is hard to ignore. You feel it when she speaks. You see it in the way she carries herself. She's intentional, she has direction, and that makes her unforgettable. She's not trying to prove anything to anyone. She's not living for applause. She knows who she is, and more importantly, she knows who she's becoming. Every day she chooses progress over perfection. She's not comparing her journey to anyone else's. She's not stuck in the loop of trying to impress. She's creating a life that fulfills her, not one that needs constant validation. That kind of woman stays on your mind because her life speaks for itself. You might not hear from her often, but you'll see her glow. You'll feel her energy even when she's not around, because she's busy cultivating her joy, building her dreams, and aligning with her higher self. It's not that she doesn't care. It's that she has priorities. She knows that being chosen isn't the same as being fulfilled. So she chooses herself over and over again. She pours into her passions. She invests in her growth. And that focus creates a quiet confidence that lingers long after the conversation ends. You'll find yourself wondering what she's up to, not because she posted about it, but because she moves in silence and lets her results speak. Her ambition isn't loud, but it's present. You feel it in her discipline, in the way she doesn't chase, she attracts. She's not trying to be liked by everyone because she's too busy becoming someone she admires. She understands that the right people will be drawn to her authenticity, not her availability, and so she sets boundaries with her time and energy. She doesn't drop everything to entertain temporary attention. Her focus is sacred. She treats her time like currency, only spending it where there's value. That kind of discipline isn't common, and it's definitely not forgettable. And even when she's silent, she's still making noise. Her progress whispers into spaces she hasn't stepped into yet. Her growth announces her presence even before she enters the room, and when someone realizes that they no longer have access to her the way they used to, they don't just miss her. They feel the absence of her purpose-driven presence. Because she's not just another name in their phone, she's the one who kept rising, even in silence, the one who made purpose look powerful, graceful, and deeply feminine all at once. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, beg, or try to force her way into anyone's life. She understands something powerful. What is meant for her will never require her to shrink, compromise her value, or compete for attention. She's not afraid to walk away when she's not being respected, because she's not operating from a place of fear or lack. She doesn't see herself as someone who needs to be chosen. She is the choice, and that knowing radiates from her without her ever having to say a word. When she senses inconsistency, she doesn't argue. When she feels taken for granted, she doesn't plead. She simply exits, quietly, gracefully, and completely. There's a calm authority in how she handles herself. She's not bitter, she's not reactive. She just knows that her presence is a gift. And once it's no longer valued, she has no problem taking it elsewhere. This kind of woman doesn't make a scene. She doesn't throw tantrums or create drama. She just stops showing up. And that absence speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. Because when a woman who brought peace, love, and loyalty walks away, it creates a void that no distraction can fill. She's not replaceable because what she brought to the table wasn't based on performance. It was based on depth. She doesn't stay in spaces where she has to constantly prove her value. Her time is too precious. Her energy is too sacred. She's not waiting around for someone to recognize her worth after they've ignored it. She knows what she deserves, and she won't settle for half-hearted love, one-word replies, or inconsistent effort. That quiet exit isn't just her walking away, it's her honoring herself, and that kind of self-respect is unforgettable. It lingers, it leaves people thinking long after she's gone, because they realize too late that she didn't need them. She chose them, and now that choice is gone, and it's not just the leaving that makes her unforgettable, it's how she loved, how she cared, how she was present and supportive without ever asking for much in return. She gave genuinely, but she also knew when it was time to stop pouring into a cup with holes. Her kindness wasn't weakness. Her patience wasn't permission. She gave chances, but not endlessly. She forgave, but she didn't forget who she is, and eventually her silence became the only response she needed. People don't forget a woman who knows her worth because she doesn't leave behind chaos. She leaves behind clarity. Clarity about what they lost. Clarity about what they took for granted. She's not the one sending long messages or chasing closure. Her peace is her closure. Her glow-up is her reply. Her silence is her boundary. And the ones who didn't value her will replay the moments she gave them a chance, wishing they had done things differently, realizing she never needed them to complete her. She just wanted someone who could meet her where she already stood. You don't need to shout to be seen. You don't need to explain to be understood. You don't need to fight to be remembered. You are enough as you are, and the right person. The one whose heart aligns with yours will hear your silence louder than anyone else's noise. So stay graceful, stay grounded, stay glowing, because the woman who knows her worth will always stay on his mind without saying a word.